Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Great to be with you. My name is David Crew Brown, and I'll be facilitating this next session. We're very privileged to have two very distinguished speakers with us, MORNÉ and CLAYTON, and they'll be talking to us about a big project that they ran with the DSV construction of the DSV warehouse. So just really appreciate you guys joining us for the session. We see one or two more people joining, so that's good news. Maybe just a quick introduction. MORNÉ, actually, we studied together many years ago, but has been in this line of work for over 21 years. Just a wealth of experience in project management, but also logistics and supply chain. So really looking forward to hearing what MORNÉ has to share with us. CLAYTON also has been, he's a director with RLS and has been there for over 23 years. Also just passionate about the work that he does and a huge amount of experience in supply chain and optimization and warehousing. So I'm going to hand over to MORNÉ and CLAYTON to share with us. I don't know, just maybe before you start, MORNÉ, I drove to the airport to drop off somebody about 4 or 5 months ago, and that's after not having been on that road for over a year. And I was quite shocked to see all the different warehouses that went up, and I think most noticeably the DSV warehouse. And so really excited to hear how you guys managed to get that up so quickly and during, I think, quite trying times. So over to you guys.
Thank you, David. Thank you, CLAYTON. Welcome all. I think we've got a nice full agenda, and what we will do is we'll give a few minutes after the presentation for discussion points. But with that as well, you see at the end, as we'll go to the ILS booth and we'll answer some questions and discussions there as well. So just the high-level topics that we're going to discuss is the DSV as a company, our project vision, the scope and the numbers, what we did with the design, the project implementation, the construction, the fit-out of the warehouse, the cross-dock, which is the sortation facility, which CLAYTON will take us through. How do we do the go-live and the planning around the go-live, the change management, how do we move in? What was the impact on COVID on us, and what did we do around it, and how did we achieve what we did? Our green initiatives, our community involvement, and then the lessons learned at the end. So DSV as a company, I think we started off, when I started off as IHD, then got bought over by UTI and then by DSV in the last few years. And what you've seen in the news that DSV, we live through acquisitions. So we've purchased Palapina a year or two ago, and now Agility in the East as well, and then Globefreight within South Africa. So worldwide, we have about 75,000 employees, 1,300 offices, 90 countries around the world, and our annual revenue is about $18 billion US dollars. Within South Africa, we have 3 divisions. So it's Air and Sea, basically we brokerage air freight and road freight and sea freight, import and exports. In the road environment, there's our full truckloads and less than truckloads. We do courier business, small, and you'll see later on with CLAYTON, quite a significant range of parcels as well. That was the old Sun Couriers and the old UTI days. We have Secures, which was Mounties, which is your credit cards and your cell phones. And then with the solutions environment, we've got dedicated and multi-client warehousing as well. There we do line-side supply for the likes of the guys, most of the automotive guys. We also do automotive logistics. And then with that as well is the Department of Basic Education, where we distribute most of the workbooks for each of the schools, which is about 26,000 in the country. On the healthcare side, we do have about 50% of the market share. So that's your regulated pharmaceuticals to pharmacies, wholesalers, hospitals, and government. And as well, there is CDU, which is chronic medical dispensary unit, which we deliver straight to patients. What was our project vision and why did we do this? So DSV has a global consolidated strategy where we look to combine all of our business units, being that agency, road, and solutions, into a single facility. Then leveraging on the synergies between the business units and what we get through those interaction to improve our operational efficiencies to our customers and with ourselves as well, with standardized processes across all the business units. Remember, we bring freight in, we warehouse it, we store it, we pick and pack, we deliver. And for some business like healthcare, we even collect the cash as well. We did look at this facility with the scalability and the flexibility hereof. And then with the location is looking at the center of gravity. Why did we decide to put the facility where it was? Firstly, it was the proximity to the airport, the air freight coming in and the air freight going out. And then secondly, doing a center of gravity study with our vehicles and looking at the best way to achieve service level and to minimize cost. We also looked at the sustainability, and it is a requirement from DSV Global, and something we are following is the green sustainability of where we build, what do we build, and how do we sustain the environment, and what impact do we have on the environment. And we use the DSV Global best practices. So DSV develop in the region of about 1 million square meters per year through DSV property, and those wealth of experience are used to design and develop these facilities as well, which we did. What was our high-level process? Our high-level process was basically the business case, looking at data gathering, the development of the business case, initial size, location, what synergies we have, the business case sign-off of approval, and the initial size requirement. In the design, we identified the land options as I discussed, the center of gravity analysis, the purchase of land from the purchase, the legal requirements around it, and at that stage, identify the project team, the core project team, which evolved from DS operation, logistics engineers, ILS, architects, civil, mechanical engineers, quantity surveyors, architects, and health and safety professionals. With that as well, we looked at the guidance from the DSV Global Architects. We then applied the local and used local architect engineers to actually look at what the local requirements with SANS and the rest is, to actually implement what was designed or which is guided by Global on the designs, and then the sign-off from operations. On the construction and fit-out, it was the building procurement, the creation of tender packages, the tender process, the contraction legal, looking at how we contract the JBCC contracts and associated. With the building side, it was the two main packages was the earthworks contractor, major, and then the main contractor. And then the directs was the design, the tender process, and the fit-out. With the go live, I'll spend a bit more time on that, was the different projects teams, how we did the change management, how we handed over the site to the maintenance guys, and there was the training, the warranties, the preventive maintenance schedules, service levels, and associated, and then physically the move that happened in the last few months, the planning of the move, the site services go live, the induction of the staff, the physical move, and the post go live. How did we design this? How do we do the business case? So as you can see on the left-hand side, we have 8 facilities, major facilities, which is a combination between dedicated and multi-client sites. So what we then do is at that stage is look at what is the forecast on the as is, a cost forecast on rent, assets, other property costs, and deliberation costs, and compare that cost schedule to a future to-be cost schedule. So as you can see here, not in detail though, but this was the current facility as one of them. It was the EMC facility. Then looking at when we're going to move into the new facility, what is the new facility move cost, capex cost, depreciation cost, synergy cost, center of gravity impact, and then comparing that to a 10-year NPV, and if it was positive, and then look at the positive NPV EBIT impact, and that combine that with all the other business units, and then forward that as a business case for the property project. Just high level, the staff numbers, we looked at around 2,300 people with the growth. Our size requirement was about 90,000 for the warehouse, 40,000 for the cross dock, and then 10,000 for the admin block. And then you would see here We've got about 1,200 private vehicles on site, and then commercial vehicles about 885 per day. From the DSV manual, so you can see that nice Danish looks, blue and wood and so forth, and you're always welcome to come visit us. You'll see that our office looks exactly the same, and this is what we applied. So it's the same look and feel for the DSV buildings across the world. So basically, the design manual for the domicile, which was the offices, the logistics building, the size of the docks, the lux level, how the toilets look, how far the toilets are, far must the staff walk, and then the cross dock as well on the right-hand side. What did this initial design give us? And this was and you'll see we almost there when we did it at the end with the facility. We have a 88 site size, about 394,000 squares, a warehouse of 88,000, staff ablution, which is the staff canteen and showers, and a labor broker area for 2,800, a admin area of 10,500, and then a cross-dock facility just over 40,000 squares. On the site layout, what we did with the site layout, significant amount of work. So we had earthwork constraints. So and you'll see that the site itself is not level. So there's quite a high area here. So with the site we identified through our center of gravity and so forth, we had to move the buildings around to fit it best, create the traffic flow around the site, and look at what the building orientation is. With that, as well as look at security. How many gates do we need on site? How do we protect the perimeter? How do we throttle the staff through the staff facility to the warehouse or to the cross-dock or to the Mounties area, as well as to the admin area? So security was a major influence of us. And then with that as well was the traffic analysis and the flow. And we in a courier business, so that 500 vehicles that you saw earlier, early in the morning between 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock, those vehicles all depart out. And then between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, all of them come back. So basically, we upped it that both gates can function for both. And we have the 8-tonners and the 15s, 18s, and the 21s for gate 2. And then the admin block through this, and our staff parking here and the 4-tonner parking there. We also, the same as with the toll gates, because of that congestion and how it created bottlenecks, is look at the gates, and we had bi-directional gates, almost the same as the toll gate, where we have switching lanes as well. And then also looking at where we pick up the staff, almost the same as what you have at the Gauteng station, 2 of them there and 1 on that area on the top there, and where the taxi drop-off and pick-up points are. So this was in the beginning of 2020. And you can see this is the R21. We still plant mealies around it, which is quite nice. Serengeti is there at the back. And this was the start of the warehouse. There you can see the cross-dock tilter panels going up. And around here is where we put up the admin block. And this is the Benoni off-ramp here on the right-hand side. Just on the construction timing, this took us about 36 months to do. From the initial design to looking at proposed land, till the business cases, because this is a significant cost for DSV. Looking at a design, the creation of the project team, the construction from around August of 2019 until April of 2021, the fit-out, which was the racking, the cross-dock sorter, the furniture, the canteen, and all associated, the crane. And then you will see the go live. We started in December of last year, and our last business unit went live the 23rd of July. We had about 37 months in duration from start until we are now. And then the COVID impact, we'll get to that a bit later, was about 45 days construction. And that hit us around this period here. And that has a significant impact on us. Just the procurement packages, not going into detail of it. You can see that all the engineers, logistic consultants, quantity surveyors, principal agents. We also have our own project management team that was involved in this. Also the global architects and associated, and then traffic engineers as well. And you'll see the direct packages on the right-hand side with in-rack sprinters, cross-belt sorter, cranes, truck washers, network security, audiovisual, material handling, and so forth. At the end, we were slightly below our budget, so which was good, and taking into consideration that we went through the lockdown period as well as the rand fluctuation as well, with the currency fluctuation. So which was good there at the end for us. On the procurement boards, so this was with the go live, and we spent quite a bit of time on this. So you can see that we had executive sponsors. We had to involve different functions within the business, HR, procurement, corporate compliance, operations, the different operational units and third parties as well. Strange one there was the aviation consultant. That was to do with the helipad, and that's the tracking of our vehicles. And what you'll see on the left-hand side is the different boards we had. The property, our insurances, accreditation applications, and in there was the pharmacy council, because we've got a pharmaceutical environment, which is about 8,000 square, so it's full pharma grade. Our security, the small gym, maintenance and landscaping, the fuel station, the 2 canteens, stock up and go live, make sure that we've got, strange enough, water, toilet rolls, soap, all of those on site. The physical move of when the people moved in, the change management of external clients, the change management of internal employees, the quality, health, safety, and environment, making sure that we adhere to all those guidelines and all the SOPs were created and is ready for the people when they go live. And then also was the closure of our old site and moving out of them. And lastly, it was the material handling equipment, which was basically the forklifts and the rest. On the warehouse itself, you see quite a significant warehouse, 80,000 squares. So this, on my left-hand side is, we call that the OTC chamber, which is basically 22 plus minus crew, pharma grade. So we've got a separate license for it, so we can trade pharmaceuticals out of it. If you look at the total amount of pallets, and that's Euro 2 pallets, the facility are able to, has a capacity of 107,000 pallet locations. And what we will see is a multi-client facility. So we've got different clients here, ranging from the temperature control, humidity control to our left, and anything from fast-moving consumable goods to cell phone industry to DB, which is the books as well. With that as well, we use static racking, and that gave us the flexibility to cater for because we function as a 3PL to cater for multiple clients. What happened in the last period, you'll see the area here at my bottom where I'm circling my mouse, is we are moving one of our business units, chronic medical dispensary unit. So that's the direct-to-patient pharmaceuticals. They will move into this area as well. Just on the warehouse, you can see the racking there at the back, the concrete mezzanine on my left-hand side. This is the dispatch on my left-hand side, and then the battery charging, and you can see the expansion that we've got in front of us. And then our waste areas there on the top with the battery charging in front of us. We've got a range of MHE on site, anything from low-level order pickers, double powered pallet trucks, and reach trucks. And we do global contracts with our suppliers as well. So you'll see we defaulted to Young Heinrich, and they supplied a good service to us. Clayton?
Thanks, MORNÉ. Hello, everybody. So we're going to be looking at the cross-dock facility. It's the area that MORNÉ pointed down the lower portion of the site, building that you can see from the R21 that Dave referred to. The cross-dock facility is about 40,000 square meters in size and really is made up of 3 major operational areas. The area down the bottom where you can see the mouse is the road, air, and sea operation. Handles large containers, air freights, etc. There's a 50-ton crane to stack containers and unload and load. To the far left of the facility, we've got the high secure section, Mounties, so if you had your credit card delivered. And then the portion that we're going to touch on now, very high level, is the courier sortation facility. So what's interesting in the DSV world, South Africa is one of the only operations that has a courier facility. DSV's previous operation was fairly manual, lasted them for many years, and got to a point where they needed to take the next step. So we, as MORNÉ said, we looked at global standards, but also had to apply our minds as a team to look at handling courier operations. And typically, if you look worldwide, courier operations are generally parcel handling, where DSV handles parcels, or normal boxes and cartons, right through to large out-of-gauge items. So needed some engineering there. Thanks, MORNÉ. So at the beginning of the project, which was, as Morné said, mid-2018, we sat down as a team to say, what does this facility need to do? What is the basis of design? So it needed to support growth in throughput. It needed to be scalable. We looked at a 10-year horizon, which is the DSV way, and we needed to accommodate both organic and acquisitive growth. As you may know, DSV is on an acquisition trail. We needed to have been able to process a wide variety of freight, so it needed to talk to the flexibility, obviously within the realms of what a level of automation can do. DSV's product mix is about 85% conveyable, and that ranges to a maximum. We can handle a maximum of 1.5 meter long item, 800 wide and 700 high. 15% of what we handle is out of gauge. So that could be anything from a round ball to something strange shape that would typically roll on a conveyor so you couldn't load it, up to a jet ski or golf cart sized item. We're currently running manually, but we needed to achieve high levels of sort accuracy. So final acceptance, the benchmark was 99.9% sort accuracy. We needed to get reduced turnaround time. So the idea was to essentially handle the operation in shorter time windows. So we needed to reduce the freight processing and ultimately accommodate more vehicles at any one point in time. We needed to accommodate a wide range of vehicles, types and configurations, and we'll show you some photos now, but everything from a 1-ton bakkie or light delivery vehicle to a 22-meter rigid interlink for their line hauls. And of course, there wasn't 1 rand or 1 square meter that we could waste, so this facility needed to be absolutely optimized so that it could handle both a sorter and any ground non-conveyable type operation, so that lent itself to optimized staging and travel spines that had to be focused into the design. Thanks, Morné. So we started the process, as you would with any good design, is to undertake data analysis and modeling. And core when you're planning a formal sortation system is to balance the system. When we did the data analysis, a 10-year plan equated to approximately 12,000 parcel sorts per hour. And when you're looking to maximize the throughput capacity of this asset that you've bought, it's absolutely critical that you minimize the parcel time on the sorter. So that parcel needs to come on and it needs to be ejected accurately and as quickly as possible. So that meant that we needed to, in the design, balance the volume split between the various inbound induction points to the multiple outbound sort destinations. So the longer a parcel spends circulating on that sorter, the less new parcels you can add, and you'll have a reduced capacity. So that 15% non-conveyables or out of gauge equates to about 2,300 parcels at peak per hour. And then obviously, as we said, the design needed to cater for that off-conveyor flow. Next, thanks, Morné. So we went through the concept design, detailed design, RFP, as Morné alluded to. We looked at a range of sorter suppliers, locally and internationally, and we settled on a balance between local and international. And we appointed a company called Thieves. It's the first sorter that they put in South Africa. They call it the Ferrari of sorters. They're passionate Italians. And then Rochromatics or RMSA in South Africa to support the installation and local components, so balancing the cost versus benefit of the system. So what did we ultimately achieve? We ultimately put in a 600-meter crossbelt sorter. What's unique about this is it's on 2 levels. Your conventional sorter's on 1 level. Thieves have only done about 3 of these in the world. And this has 2 levels, and really what that helps us do is to get to balance that system and to do multi-directional sortation. We achieved about 13,000 parcels per hour, so we reached what we needed. It can potentially run at 2.6 meters per second. There's about 767 carriers, so a carrier holds 1 parcel. The sorter currently is running at about 2.1 meters per second, so there's growth there. We can handle the wide range of parcels, and we can handle from anything from 100 grams up to 50 kilograms. About 185 inbound and outbound doors, so cycling those vehicles through the site is important. There's 17 inbound lines with imported telescopics, and approximately 55 outbound chutes, so ultimately the destinations that we're sorting to. And because we needed to move large freight on the floor, we needed to lift the sorter off the floor, allows you to get the out angles and obviously move the product through the facility. We handle envelopes, so flyers, and true to their name, at 2.6 meters per second, they'll generally fly off the sorter. So we handle them in totes, and we have a dedicated flyer sortation area. The system is energy efficient. It was a big attraction to this design, in line with DSV sustainability planning. It has low noise and very silent, much lower than 78 dB. Next slide. Thanks, MORNÉ. I think what's important, not going to look at any of the detail, but we'll dive in just to share some photographs, but it was a total solution. It's not just about the sorter, it's about the yard, it's about the doors, it's about the staging, the movement. Every component in the design had to come together to ensure that you had a world-class operation that ultimately met those key requirements. So a lot of detailed planning taking place during this phase of the project. Thanks, MORNÉ. So we'll just dive in to show you some quick photographs, give you a taste. So a wide range of vehicles. There you can see the rigid line hauls. So we needed to have telescopics that could reach in 20 meters into the vehicles. We needed to be able to cycle those trucks onto site, into dock positions and out. And that's a function of balancing yard space. So ideally a 50, 55 meter run out. We needed to ensure that the door centers were correct so that we could get the vehicles in and out and get those cycle times. No point in having a fancy sorter if you couldn't get the trucks in. And door centers, I'll show you now, were probably more important here than any other facility we've been involved in. On the right-hand side, you can see DSV run about 120 and it's growing light delivery vehicles. So we needed to deal with them in 3 waves to unload the products that they've collected locally onto the belts feeding the sorter, and then on the next shift to load those vehicles. So the vehicles need to dock, load, exit the site, and be able to move into position. So that fine planning was as important as planning the sorter. Thanks, MORNÉ. So I'm not going to go into detail here, but you can see the dock shelters. That was a global requirement. The door centers, important. And then dock heights also. Spent a lot of time on dock heights here to make sure that there was seamless movement into the facility. Thanks, MORNÉ. So here's a good picture. It just shows you the conventional carton sizes coming onto the telescopic. And what the guys said to us is this facility has allowed them to work efficiently. They're no longer sweat. So it really made good use of resources and allowed the guys to focus their energies where it really counts. And on the right, you can see the type of out-of-gauge items that obviously cannot go on the sorter, and you needed to have thought the whole movement of getting that product in, weighed. We have automated weighing and dimensioning and moving that to immediately. We don't have time to sit on the floor. We need to get that to an outbound location. So thanks, MORNÉ. Very quickly, you can just see an inbound process. Again, you can see the door centers, so wide spaces so that we can stage on either side for large items. Cartons onto the telescopics, deep into those line haul vehicles, up the incline belts. Thanks, MORNÉ. Next slide. Onto the upstream system, so we have what we call a 4-to-1 ratio, so four belts feeding into one induction onto the sorter. The product is weighed here and then fed onto the sorter. You can see it's on the mezzanine. Thanks, MORNÉ. So great slide. So what this is showing you, parcels coming through onto the sorter, they get inducted. Each one of those black belts is a carrier, and that carries the parcel to its ultimate destination. What's interesting here is, just to make it real for you, is on the right-hand side, you can see quite a small parcel, but on the left, that's a 49-inch TV being inducted onto the sorter. Now, in the past, that would normally have been handled by hand, but now can go onto the sorter. Just note, unfortunately, the graphics haven't come out clear here, but you can see the double level, the first level and a level below that. So the product comes on, goes around a curve, and then down, and then onto the next slide. So once it's on, it goes through a volumizer. So this volumizer is scanning the product at that 2.6 meters per second. It's scanning it, scanning the barcode, associating it to a destination. A lot of IT taking place there, and then ultimately sorting it to a range of outbound chutes. Thanks, MORNÉ. So there you can just see the sorter, a lot of outbound chutes. If we go to the next slide. Wide range of chutes. So we've got spiral chutes feeding large items that are staged on the floor, where you only pick and load the vehicles hours later. We've got in the top left-hand corner double level chutes supporting that quick flow off the sorter down onto telescopics directly into the vehicle. So vehicles at each door while you're sorting, so the product never hits the floor. And then whenever you see one of those light delivery DSV vehicles running around Johannesburg or around the country, they've been fed by product that slid down a large flat chute that you can see in the bottom left-hand corner. And the sorter, we've set it up so that it sorts in trajectory. So it sorts light, medium, and heavy parcels separately down separate sections of the chutes so that you make sure that you're managing damage to the parcels as best as possible. And then we stage and load hours later when the vehicles are back from their original deliveries. Thanks, MORNÉ. So closing off, so really here just a view under the sorter. So again, needed to look at the flows, movement of large items. In mid-shift, this area is very busy, lots of people on the spines, moving product from doors to outbound chutes. So again, just the thought process of all the flows needed in the facility, volumes, etc., and the staging areas. So it was that balance of using every square meter, but also making sure you've got a 10-year life in the building. Thanks, MORNÉ. And then lastly, while we're talking with flows, a lot of discussion with the teams around human movement. So just in the bottom right-hand corner, staff access onto the floor, right across close to the materials handling, battery charging area, lithium ion in line with good energy use, and then move on to the spines. We also can see at the top, there's a staff walkway linking the main pilot offices. So we've taken staff off the floor and connect between the office areas. And then basically just in supporting full movement of people, product, and equipment through the cross-dock operation. The building also, the conveyors also support the air freight operation that we mentioned earlier on. Thanks, MORNÉ.
MORNÉ, if you can just unmute yourself, please. Perfect, thank you.
Sorry about that. So it was the main facility and then the solar power on top of it, and you can see our staff facility and our outside eating area at the bottom. What was the impact of COVID? So we lost about 45 days construction time. We moved our original go live from January to April, and then we had to, with the 3PL timelines, we actually had to do acceleration to actually meet our contractual timelines as well. During the main construction part, we had about 1,800 people on site with WBHR, our main contractor, and with the whole COVID measures, we had to implement screening, social distancing, and a whole heap of COVID measures to make sure that we adhere to what the guidelines from government was. In the cross-dock, it caused a significant delay. We had to fly specialists in. Those are very specialized equipment to implement. And we had an issue with people from Italy, Malaysia, Turkey, and China not being able to get visas, the lockdown challenges. Now still we have the quarantine periods for people flying into Australia and New Zealand and back. We had an issue with the port congestions and the container availability across the world. We moved about 100 40-foot containers in. And at some stage, we had to unpack containers in China and in Italy, and then unpack the other ones in South Africa and store them until we had the installers available to come and finish the installation for us. The impact of that was our original timeline of the 27th of December being moved to the 23rd of July. COVID also had an impact on our suppliers with the supply of raw material, and every now and then it has an impact on them was the cash flow of those businesses as well. And at the end, what we also did was look at what impact and design changes we had to make on the facility to facilitate the changes. So we changed the facility of how we interact with social distancing, where our turnstiles were, how we access the staff access, and where we put the sanitizing stations around the site. Then in the change management, each of our, and that came from the change management board, so we handed this out to employees. Where was the site? They got a pack of about 122 pages. What's the site rules? Where did they arrive? Which gate do they go through? Where does the admin people go through? Where does the ops guys go through? Where's the one-tonners? Each floor, where does the boardroom sit? So how do you book it? Where's the print room, the kitchen, the bathrooms, as well as the training rooms at the bottom? So we catered for what is the general rules in the canteen, the SOPs regard to fire drills and etc. With the green at the end, you can see that we went the green refrigerants around the site. We only planted indigenous and local plants. We've got our own boil system and the filtration plant, and that feeds the facility as well as the truck wash. In the truck wash, we've got two automated Karcher truck wash machines that we use to wash our one-tonners up to our links as well, and we do reuse the water. We've got a building management system that caters for when we switch on the lights, how we dim the lights within the facilities, how do we set the temperature, and how do we control the outside lights, as well as all the metered electrical and water meters around the site. In the electrical side, we have the Dali system, which is motion and light controlled. At the moment, we've got 1 megawatt. That's the license we had at that stage, but we applied for the 2.4 in the future. We've got electrical charging point on site. We are piloting electrical delivery vehicles with one of the suppliers and retailers. And Clayton mentioned the cross-dock sorter as well. Within the main office building, we have a heat recovery system that recovers about 40% of the heat, and double glazed windows to manage the acoustics as well as the thermal impact of the outside. We did have a big role of the local community, and that's always been a DSV motto. We appointed a community liaison officer. During the construction period, we employed unskilled labor and skilled laborers from the local community, from around that area. I think it's from the farm as well as Tembisa and the rest. We did create a training facility, which you see in front of you, where we trained 60 learners ranging from different trades, from electricians to bricklayers to drivers. And at the end, we awarded 10 apprenticeships to those guys, and they're currently doing their apprenticeship on the mines. What was our challenges and learnings? Definitely, I think COVID was a major impact for us and on us. And the way to change the project plans and adopt to what we have and change our regional plans, change our deadlines, our critical paths to accommodate how things change around us. We did have a major impact with the plan approval and the council connections. The plan approval with COVID as well, where the planning office actually shut down and we couldn't get the plan approvals and the approvals we needed for occupation. And then getting the water and electric connections and so forth, and underestimating that, the time it takes you to do that. And it actually gets getting worse with the COVID impact. We have a very strict DSV global IT protocol, and that's to do with that we don't get rolled out at ransom and what we've seen in the port as well in the last few weeks. And that also, to implement this, had a cost impact as well as a timing impact on our facility. And then the change management at all levels, ranging from staff, cleaners, security guards, drivers, owner drivers, clients, and so forth, to actually do this within a time period and going live. I think we've got a minute or two spare, and we knew that we would be close with our timing. So both Clayton, and thank you for your time, everybody. So both Clayton and myself will be available at the ILS booth if there's any questions or comments that you'd like to discuss with us.
MORNÉ, Clayton, see lots of thumbs up going from the audience. It's just been amazing. I think a huge round of applause from all of us for what you guys and your team have been able to achieve. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. 12,000 parcels per hour, 80,000 squares of facility, the size, the scale, the quality of what you guys have been able to deliver. Absolutely fantastic. I'm going to take you up on that offer to come and see the facility myself at some point, because I think it just is something to behold. So thank you again. As Renee's mentioned, they are going to be available in the breakaway room, so please join them if you have any further questions. I see there are two quick questions if we can. The one is around how you manage information or data in the last mile of distribution, so more on kind of last mile distribution side. I don't know if you want to take a stab at that.
Yeah, so Clayton, you can add as well. So we implemented a new transport management system, which is called Blue Jane. So yeah, I don't think we knew how big our appetite was when we made all these changes, but it definitely had the impact. So we went for major changes. We implemented Blue Chain. That actually, from where we pick it up, and that plans to route straight through to the let's call it the hub and spoke network until we deliver it to the customer at the end. So we track and trace it, David, through our parcel management system, and that went live within the last year as well. So that project was also a 2-year project.
Cool. Thanks, MORNÉ. And maybe just one last question around the payback period of a big project like this. I know that you guys did a lot of upfront due diligence and financial checking to see if it's like what the financials are. But yeah, what is your sense from the project and kind of where you guys are at? And well done for meeting the budget. That's a huge accolade for you guys. But yeah, what is the payback for a project like this typically?
I think anything less than 5 years, 5 years, then DSV is interested in it. Anything over it will be doubtful, and our global CFO is will have a good look over David. So you're talking in the regions of, let's call it 6 years and below. Remember, we also looked at these different synergies around the site. So when you have one site, you have one security company, one cleaning company, and all of that business case that I showed in the beginning of the presentation, we took all of that in consideration. And with that as well, what is the appetite for our sales team for new growth as well? And looking at that, and how we forecast the sales and the EBIT impact thereof.
Cool. Clayton, any last words to add? I think, again, just well done. But anything before we close and everyone has a quick break for lunch and joins the rooms?
No, I think, firstly, thanks for the opportunity. And it's been a privilege to work on a project like this. And again, I support MORNÉ in extending teams to come and have a look. We'd proudly take you through.
Yeah, brilliant, guys. Well done. Thank you very much for joining us and for being part of SAPEX. Just for the audience, if you can please make sure that you just evaluate the session. That feedback is very important to us. Please join the different booths and the exhibition stands during the half-an-hour break that we're having for lunch, and do go and spend some time catching up with MORNÉ and with Clayton. Yeah, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Great.
Thank you, David. Thank you all.
David. Cheers, Dave. Bye.
Bye.